Got it. Mr. Chairman, first, I thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I've had the pleasure of working with you over a number of years now, and I hope it's been useful. I also want to say that it's been a pleasure working with your staff. They have done extremely professional work preparing for these hearings, and I can see the value of these proceedings over a period of time. I would also say that I hate testifying after the LAO because I'm not sure what I have to add. My tendency is to say what she said and then do you have any questions? But I'm not going to do that. At least I will summarize this. There have so far been 7 business plans, beginning in 2000 and ending thus far in 2018, but what we're looking at today is almost a revised 2018 business plan, or a 2019. Over this time, the project has evolved from a project that was going to serve San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, and Sacramento with high-speed rail to one which now only proposes to complete the Central Valley section, adding Merced and Bakersfield. This evolution that we have watched has been driven inexorably by adjustments needed to respond to 3 different forces. 1, continually increasing construction costs as they've acquired actual experience. 2nd, reductions in the estimates of money that they had or credibly could have. And this is with a project that has been underfunded since the beginning. And finally, the impact of the FRA grants that specified that the work would begin in the Central Valley. In very broad terms, the project update report responds by saying that the governor is committed to an overall vision of completing the system, but he wants to see the Central Valley section completed first in order to develop immediate benefits, to demonstrate feasibility, and to demonstrate management competence. I think this would be critical if they can do that. They argue that the utility of the Central Valley section can be significantly enhanced by adding the links to Merced and to Bakersfield. They state that the authority will be able to complete all the environmental work for Phase 1 as has been promised to the FRA, and that work will contribute to a better estimate of the cost of things like the Pacheco tunneling, for example. The high-speed rail extension to Merced in connection with San Joaquin will be good for all of the services. They project, as we've discussed earlier, that it would increase the demand for all 3 and result in a total reduction to the state of about $20 million annually in the subsidy for all 3 services. It is not clear whether the high-speed rail service per se will operate at a deficit, but they argue that the sum of the 3 will lose $20 million less. A critical assertion is that the Central Valley section, including the added links to Merced and Bakersfield, can be financed within existing resources. I want to emphasize to you that this proposal is based on a number of assumptions discussed in the project update report that have got to be out on the table. 1 is that the state will retain the $2.5 billion in ARA money and the $929 million in the FY 2010 appropriation, which FRA has now formally deobligated. The second is that the receipts from cap and trade need to average at least $500 million annually. Even then, if the receipts only average $500 million, there would be a temporary gap of about $1.4 billion to get to the end of the project. Receipts would have to be considerably higher to avoid the need for bridge financing or to try to make up for the loss of the $929 million if that is final. The proposal to generate operating revenues from the sale of carbon credits is new and novel. I've not seen this before. In effect, it puts the high-speed rail authority in the position of getting 25% of the receipts from the sale of the credits and at the same time having an operating agency that's selling the credits. I don't know that this is wrong or right, but I've not seen this before. Next, the construction costs have to fall within current estimates when, 1, there is no experience with electrification, signaling, track work, rolling stock, and shops. And 2, the estimates of the Merced to Madeira and Shafter to Bakersfield links, around $4 billion, are at a very early stage of design. Finally, the proposed linkage with ACE and San Joaquin services can be established and operated as planned when, in fact, these plans are preliminary at best. And it also assumes that the idea of having another agency assume the operating office in order to avoid Proposition 1A litigation assumes that will pass muster. For these reasons, we conclude that the proposal is subject to a wide range of uncertainty with an adverse outcome at almost any point causing further problems for the project, including legal delays and potentially a need for further financing. As discussed in our earlier letters and testimony earlier this year, the legislature does have options. I don't want to go through these in great detail, we already have, but you could just stop, pay the claims and walk away. I don't think anyone thinks this is a credible option because you'd lose all the value that's created. You could do the minimum to keep the ARA money, complete the existing contracts, use it for lower speed operation, and then stop. Making a short connection with the San Joaquin route at Madera and at Shafter would permit use of the high-speed rail alignment for slower trains. It would save the $4 billion extra to make the high-speed connections, and it would save the cost of electrification, which is around $1 billion, and the cost of high-speed rolling stock, which is around $700 million. This would be a disappointing choice and would clearly not make the best use of the work that's been done so far, but it is a valid choice. You could adopt the proposal as in the project update report, making the added connections to Merced and Bakersfield, use high-speed rolling stock, and reroute the San Joaquins. If the legislature opts to approve this, however, it should require a more detailed and agreed operating plan for the system, including the interactions with ACE and the San Joaquins. In addition, since decisions to go beyond the Central Valley will be deferred, the legislature may want to require the authority to undertake a thorough value engineering analysis of the authority's major cost drivers for the future, especially the tunneling concepts, which are the largest single uncertainty about the remaining construction in the project. Or you could just recommit to Phase 1. This would reassure both the Southern Californians and the Northern Californians that the project will reach them eventually, but it would have to be accompanied by a credible financing source. In assessing these options, there appear to be several steps that really ought to be done. One is to clarify the actual commitment to get the ARROW money. It is my understanding that this only involves creating a railroad track basically from Madera to Shafter. That's all. It doesn't require electrification, doesn't require signaling for high speed, it doesn't require rolling stock, only building a railroad line from one to the other. But it's dangerous to rely on my legal opinions. This should be verified. Second, you should obtain from the authority their opinion as to the implications of Prop 1A vis-a-vis any of these decisions. As discussed, the interim operation of the Central Valley line will involve operating deficits, and this might clash with the requirement of Prop 1A that prohibits an operating subsidy unless this subsidy could be carried by another agency. In addition, a decision to limit the line to conventional speed from Madera to Shafter in the interim might clash with the speed and trip time requirements of Proposition 1A. So we need to know what's the story here. I was very happy to hear Mr. Mendonça say earlier that I think you need a much more complete report on the interconnections with ACE and the San Joaquin service. How's this going to work? Who's going to do what? What are the costs? What are the demands? What are the overall plans that should be made for this? And I think that the state and its state rail plan should also be involved and committed in the analysis of the results so that you have a better idea what will really happen if the line is operated the way it is proposed. Also, we need to assess the impact of the FRA position of simply walking away from the environmental work. As a former FRA employee, I've never seen anything like this. I don't know how this can continue, but I certainly don't know what the workaround plan is in case it remains this way, and yet I think we need to know that or think about that because there is a possibility that it could stop everything, and I don't know how to deal with it. Overall, the project update report is certainly a step, but it's only a step in clarifying what the authority may be able to accomplish. A lot more work needs to be done to resolve uncertainties mentioned, including the operating plan, but also the uncertainties around a lot of the projected costs. Legislative oversight and guidance is really needed to take some of the fog out of their future. It is really hard to manage a project when your future is uncertain, and anything the legislature can do, however it moves, to clarify the future and bring some definition, I think would be very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much.